All right, so today I wanted to go over a very, very good article I seen out of the Post Millennial, and it's from John Carpe. And again, the first thing I would tell people is that this is a very good article. Go check out the article, spread it around because again, it's one of the best articles I think I've seen on this whole situation. So let's read it, and then I may talk a little bit about it depending on how long it takes. And anyway, he says, context matters. If I told you I shot a man yesterday, you would assume that I've done a bad thing. If I provided you with relevant context and mentioned that this man had broken into my home and had threatened to kill my wife and children, you would revisit your initial assumption. You might ask me whether this man also had a gun and whether I could have handled the situation yesterday without shooting him. Knowing the relevant context would cause you to let go of your initial judgment very quickly. Context matters so much that the courtroom oath asks witnesses to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. A witness who omits relevant facts from her testimony misleads the judge and the jury, even if every word that comes out of her mouth is actually true. Dr. Dina Hinshaw's tweets have consistently left out relevant information and therefore misleading Albertans. On December 21st, Hinshaw tweeted that there are currently 760 people in the hospital and 149 in the ICU, but she omits highly relevant facts that Alberta has over 8,300 hospital beds, and Alberta's total ICU capacity is more than 1,000. Failing to include these relevant facts in her tweets is misleading. More significantly, Dr. Hinshaw's tweets suggest that it's unusual for hospitals to be overrun by patients when in fact hallway medicine has been a sad but common feature of Canadian healthcare for many years. Politicians have refused for decades to address the gross mismanagement of healthcare dollars by an unresponsive and utterly unaccountable government monopoly, pretending that hospital overcrowding is a new phenomenon caused by you know what is misleading. Government officials like Dr. Hinshaw now tell us that hospital overcrowding is the fault of those who pretend their human dignity by exercising who protect their human dignity by exercising their Charter of Rights and Freedoms, do things like having Christmas dinner with family and friends, worshiping together with fellow believers, and playing outdoor hockey. Dr. Hinshaw offers no explanation as to why hospital capacity was not increased in the past 8 months, even though the government's officials have been warning about a second wave for many months. Dr. Hinshaw misleads Albertans by blaming a potential shortage of hospital capacity on good citizens who preserve their mental health by socializing with each other, rather than placing blame on government officials where it belongs. On December 18th, Dr. Hinshaw tweeted about 1,286 new cases of you know what, but failed to mention the vast majority of these cases concern healthy people who simply had a positive PCR test, the reliability of which is highly disputable, I would say. Again, PCR tests have shown to be at best 50% accurate. But anyway, um, with the number of false positives as high as 90%. Again, so again, um, the number of false positives is very high when it comes to PCRs. But anyway, context matters. Dr. Hinshaw fails to explain that her so-called active cases consist almost entirely of healthy people without symptoms. Dr. Hinshaw fails to point out that until our Charter and Rights and Freedoms were taken away from us in March of 2020, a case of something referred to a person who was actually sick. This is still how most people interpret the word case, daily reporting on cases of healthy people based on unreliable testing of asymptomatic Albertans is simply fear mongering and is highly misleading. On December 17th, Dr. Hinshaw tweeted that 790 Albertans had died as a result of you know what, but her tweet fails to mention that 97% of these people had comorbidities like diabetes, hypertension, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, cancer, stroke, liver cirrhosis, chronic kidney disease, immune deficiency, congestive heart failure, and other cardiovascular diseases. Again, the studies have showed that, I think it's like 75, 80% of people that are dying of the virus that aren't in nursing homes have at least two of these comorbidities. Dr. Hinshaw's tweets fail to mention that more than three-quarters of these alleged, again, he points it out here, uh, more than three-quarters of the alleged you know what deaths are amongst people who had three or more of these serious underlying conditions. Amongst the more than 20,000 Albertans who had died in the past 9 months, 20 of them 0.1% died of the virus alone, while 99.9% died of one or more other causes. To claim that elderly people who are dying of cancer, COPD, and various liver, kidney, and heart disease are dying as a result of you know what is misleading. Again, I think this is one of the most misleading things about it, is that the average person seems to think that these quote unquote deaths are people that are dying just of the virus, when in result it's actually not true. The vast majority just happen to be dying with the virus, and they have other things that are more of a driving cause of said death. And again, that's undeniable when you look at the numbers too. On December 20th, Dr. Hinshaw tweeted that she was sad to report an additional 10 deaths, but makes no reference that the other 490 Albertans who died in the preceding week, or the more than 2,000 Albertans who died in the preceding month, or the more than 27,000 Albertans who have died in the past year. Every death is sad. Why not mention the more than 26,000 Albertans who died of other causes in the past year, including those who died because Dr. Hinshaw canceled their medically necessary surgeries, or because she delayed their cancer diagnosis until it was too late. Dr. Hinshaw speaks as though nobody ever dies, failing to place deaths from one virus uh, into their relevant context is misleading. On December 15th, Hinshaw reported on 11 new deaths. It failed to mention that there were 0 deaths amongst children, teenagers, and adults under 23. Again, completely contradicting the idea of closing schools down. And again, people will bring up the whole asymptomatic spread. Again, that's been debunked as well. So again, there's no argument to why schools should be closed at this point. Dr. Hinshaw tweets don't mention that 86% of the alleged you know what deaths are amongst those 70 and older. In her tweets, Dr. Hinshaw completely ignores years of life lost, which is a relevant factor used by doctors and scientists to assess how serious a disease actually is. The impact of you know what on years of life is negligible. In contrast, cancer has a huge impact on years of life lost because it impacts large numbers of people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. But cancer now is often goes undiagnosed because governments have canceled MRIs and CT scans by lockdown measures. Worse yet, the Alberta government is making no attempt to track how many Albertans have died or suffered permanent health damage after lockdown measures canceled more than 20,000 surgeries in March and April. Suicides and drug overdoses, both on the rise because of lockdown measures, have a far greater impact on years of life than any other virus. In spite of these facts, Dr. Hinshaw appears to be shocked when people in their 80s and 90s die from their numerous pre-existing fatal diseases and chronic conditions. Further, Dr. Hinshaw says nothing about the deaths resulting from her lockdown measures, and this silence is misleading. On December 17th, Dr. Hinshaw tweeted that we're all in this together, but in fact we're not. Teachers, policemen, social workers, those receiving pension checks, government employees at all 3 levels of government, and public officials like Dr. Hinshaw and Jason Kenney have not lost their jobs or income and face no threat of losing their jobs or income. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of Albertans, small business employees and small business owners, have spent Christmas unemployed and are sliding into poverty and despair. We're not all in this together, and we won't be unless large numbers of public sector workers lose their jobs or until lockdown cause unemployment is fully reversed. Only then will we all be in this together. It's time for Dr. Hinshaw to start telling the whole truth. Now again, this is from John Carpe. He's the president of the JC Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, which is doing a good job here. Again, there's only so much they can do, but again, um, I'm not going to talk any more about it. I think he does a very good job, summing things up. I don't think there's a whole lot better job I could do. But anyway, like I say, um, make sure you send this article around to other people because again, it does a very, very good job summing this up. It does a very good job breaking things down. So again, make sure you go to the Post Millennial, save, copy and paste this link and send it to as many people as you know, because again, it's very important that, again, if people are tired of this garbage, well, the only way they're going to do it is or the only way we're going to change people's mind is by exposing them to this information. So make sure you do that. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. If you liked it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you check out those links below Follow me in those other platforms. Again, YouTube is going to censor me at some point, so check me out on those other platforms. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. Again, I appreciate whatever support I can get, but like I say, at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more.